Hello. Could you please introduce yourselves and then tell us a little bit about who you are?
Okay. I'm Josefina Pin Nunez Taruc, um, and they call me Lola Pin, Auntie Pin, Mrs. Taruc by the students here in Delano.
I'm Mary Rose Taruc. I'm daughter number two of Lola Peen's four daughters.
So you all are wearing very beautiful clothing. Can you tell us a little bit about what you're wearing?
Okay, mine is the weave is from the Ifugao tribes, and I had it made especially for, to wear here during special occasions during Filipino community events.
Uh, well, my hat is from, so we're celebrating farm workers here in Delano, but I grew up in the countryside in the Philippines where growing rice was part of life. And so you need to wear a hat, a salakot, when you're in the field. So, Mama, what is this?
This is called kimona. Kimona is a top that Filipinas wear during special occasions or the older Filipina ladies wear at home or during events. It's called kimona.
Can you tell us a little bit about what today's event means to you all?
Today's event is very historical and also memorable for the Filipinos, especially the farm workers, because Larry Itliong was the brain of the farm workers strike. He was the one who started with the rest of the other manongs, Vera Cruz, and a lot of other Filipinos called manongs. So this is a very special event.
So we're standing here on the west side of Delano, and when we first immigrated to the U.S. in California, we lived across the street actually on this west side of Delano, and it was the west side of the train tracks was mostly where the lower income, poorer folks lived, and so it's emotional actually to see our house, the back of our old house, from this Larry Itliong Unity Park. And to me, it's also especially important to recognize community organizing and labor organizing because I actually went into community organizing myself on environmental justice issues, and it was inspired by growing up here in Delano and seeing the harsh conditions that farm workers in the 100-degree sun had to go through to be able to earn a living, to put money on the table. And we need to be treated like human beings in the fields, in our community, in this country. And so to me, community organizing inspired by Larry Itliong and the manongs is about coming together and celebrating our humanity and fighting for what's right for us to be human and to live our best lives here. And so I'm really grateful for my parents for bringing us here. And, we got to move off of the west side into to the east side. I got to go to Prestigious University from Delano High School, went to UC Berkeley. And even at that, all the science in my brain, I'm still like drawn to community organizing because this is the community and the community that's here celebrating the unity of the Filipino and Mexican farm workers that started this movement.
Okay. Our family immigrated here in 1983. And I have four girls, ages 9, 7, 5, and 3. And I was a teacher in the Philippines, and I teach folk dancing. And that's my contribution to the community. Uh, Having all the kids dance during Philippine Weekend and Filipino Cultural Night at the high school so that they can show their culture through folk dancing. Right now, I have the Phil-Am Cultural Dance Troupe and the junior dance troupe that's going to perform, and I buy all their costumes from the Philippines to make it colorful and the right costumes to wear. Um, Four of my daughters, yeah, the eldest went to
She used to
UCLA.
force us to dance.
Yeah, the eldest went to UCLA. Second, Rose went to Berkeley. The third one went to UC San Diego, and the fourth one to San Diego State. And they are all involved at the high school, Delano High School. We only have one high school before, Delano High School. And, you know, my UCLA daughter was a member of the Samahan and a member of the Filipino Cultural Night. So her at UCLA. And two of her sisters, younger sisters, are UFO or United Filipino Organization presidents at the high school. So she thought about why don't we start the PCM, which is very popular in all the universities. So with her sisters, we started the PCN at Delano High School in 1995. So they are now on the
With
20.
all her costumes.
Yeah. They're still wearing the costumes from 1995 to present. You will see them
Lasts a
perform
long
later.
time.
Yeah. And my daughter commutes from LA every weekend to help the Delano High School students learn the dances. But now the high school students are doing it themselves. No more help from the adult. Yeah, and it's very, very
YouTube
amazing. Yeah.
But
YouTube.
they still need costumes, so they go to my mom.
They still ask Lola Pin what is the costume for this dance or that dance. And even though I'm already almost 80 years old, I still have the heart to go and help them with costumes. And I'm very grateful that we were able to immigrate here and share our talent and culture to the students and community of Delano. That's it. Do you want to see?
Let's see. Can you describe a little bit about what it was like growing up in Delano? And when you first arrived to this area.
Oh, growing up in Delano, it's good that we have neighbors. One neighbor, the Bengi family, we live in that area.
On Albany Street.
Yeah, on Albany Street. And some of them, of our neighbors, help the kids to take them to school because they are younger. And I have to work 7 days a week, 3 jobs. And my husband has to work in LA. She was a bank cashier in the Philippines, but we both experience working in the farm, picking grapes. And with all our neighbors and our families and friends, we were able to survive and able to have our kids go to the best universities and promote, our virtues and culture of the Filipino people.
So growing up in Delano, so I was 8 when we lived here on West 11th Street, and so community and neighbors are incredibly important, and so that's who we would play with, and eventually at the park. So just like today, we would go to the park, and our parents, and including my mom, would figure out ways for us to stay involved or to not get into trouble. And so teaching us folk dances to perform at different events like Philippine Weekend was was like the summer pastime. And so we have my generation of folk dancers from those early days of Philippine Weekend are now still part of those who stayed in Delano, still part of the Filipino cultural dancers, and their kids are also now part of being taught these dances. And it's just like, it's like, what do you do in a small town? And getting together with friends, celebrating culture, figuring out activities that are meaningful, is part of growing up here. There was a part of me where I actually wanted to leave this. I'm like, what's more for me, especially as a growing adult? And even back then, growing up, my there would be people knocking on our doors, like trying to sell encyclopedias. I know you could go to like you can Google it now, but before it's like encyclopedias. And so there was the part of us that was very studious, and so we'd read that and it's like, what's left for us to do in this world? And so like escaping to big cities like Berkeley, Oakland, San Francisco, Los Angeles, San Diego was where we, as kids from Delano, like went to, and I remember my freshman year at UC Berkeley, and I joined the Filipino club because I wanted to be around Filipinos, and they're like, oh, we have to do this really important pilgrimage to the history of Filipinos in California. And I'm like, great, sign me up. And they're like, we're going to Agbayani Village. I'm like, oh, Agbayani Village, what is that? They're like, it's where the farm workers like really started the grape strike. I was like, great. They're like, it's in Delano. I was like, what? I'm like, I went all the way to Berkeley to go back to Delano.
About it. And it's behind there in our backyard.
Yeah. Part of it is when I was growing up here in high school, there wasn't as much of that history and that pride that was instilled in us. So it's really a beautiful day today to be at this Larry Itliong Unity Park celebration because we get to celebrate Filipino culture and history that I didn't grow up with like 30 plus years ago. And so we've come a long way to recognizing the contributions of Filipinos, especially organizing community culture on days like today in this park forever.
So I think a perspective that we don't often hear about is um, Filipino farm workers, but from like a woman Filipino farm workers. So can you talk to us a little bit about that and the role that women played in the farm workers?
You know what? One of our first Filipino National Historical Society president was the late Alex Delor. And she was telling us that his mom, Nati Delor, who is a teacher in the Philippines and works in the packing company, carrot packing company, the women were paid lower than the men. So this lady wrote a letter to the growers to ask them, can you have the women get equal pay as the men? And so they sent the letter to the grower. And then when they were picking grapes, everybody was scared because the grower came and he said, who wrote this letter? And everybody was scared, but Mrs. Delora stood up and said, me. And the grower showed it to his wife, and the wife said, yes, we should give them equal pay as the men. So that's how it started. That's why when Alex Delor talked about it, he's in tears. Yeah. And the women also work in the farm. Most Filipinos that come to Delano, they experience working in the grape farm. I did experience it.
Now, Mama, tell them how, so you would get up, like a 4 in the morning? So you were a teacher in the Philippines, and then when we came here, some of the first jobs that you could get was in the field.
Working in.
So you had 4 kids in the house, and you as a mom still had to work because you had to help pay for housing and food. So like, what time would you wake up in the morning?
Maybe 3 to 4 in the morning because work starts at 6. So I experienced working for some weeks in the grapes and then work at the carrot packing company where most Filipino women, teachers in the Philippines, work. And we have to wake up early because we have one car that picks us up to get to Shafter to be able to start work at 6 a.m.
So then they had to actually, as our moms, had to teach the kids to be very independent. So I think, that's why I think we succeeded in going to prestigious universities because that was like the situation of having to leave your kids to be able to work that early in the morning. We had to get ourselves up, fed, dressed, and to school ourselves. And so part of that training for independence was because of the situation of having to get up early to work in the fields, and the kids had to learn to be independent.
Last question. Um, what do you hope future generations will remember about today and Delano?
This will be a very important part on everybody because we have all the students involved from elementary to high school and college. Some of our committee members are former dancers and involved in the school. And now they're all here as leaders. And like you can see during the entertainment, everybody will be involved and they learn about what the speakers spoke about the history of the farm workers in the Philippines. In Delano and
My kids will say Delano is like the Philippines, so whenever they visit Lola, it's like the Philippines anyway. So it's hot here. There's a lot of Filipinos. There's Filipino food. To me, it's Asian American Pacific Islander History Month, and I think there's so much history here in Delano for all of what 5 years of being on a grape strike, and I can't imagine how folks actually made it because they had to suspend their jobs because the values that they were instilling in what the fields were supposed to look like and what our how we wanted to be treated like human beings. That 5 years was as a long stretch, and that sacrifice that they gave, and it wasn't just the men in the fields, it was the families that were supporting them and the community that came together. And to me, I feel like that spirit is still alive in Delano, and like us coming together. And I want us to recognize the often unseen history of what it takes for like 5 years of a grape strike. Like organizing anything these days takes so much effort, and to sustain that for 5 years is so incredible to me. And that to me, like, there's a lot of talk in this country about racism, anti-black racism. I think one of the natures of anti-Asian racism is the erasure of Asian Americans in this country and our contributions. And I think that the Filipinos and the Filipino American history from the farm worker movement here has been erased for a long time, and it's like it's time for us to reclaim that. And today is very a very big presence of not just the Filipino community. We have all kinds of decision makers and officials that now come to Delano to recognize this history, and I'm just so proud to say that I grew up here.
Thank you so much.